Today we're going to be talking about Twitter. And one of the things that you probably have noticed about Twitter is that it is everywhere right now. It's hard to even turn on a television show or a sporting event without seeing a Twitter hashtag or a Twitter handle mentioned or left on the screen in the bottom corner. One of the things about Twitter is that it's much different than other social media sites. Unlike Facebook, where you create a network of friends where you share information such as photographs or personal information, Twitter tends to be more of what's been called an intelligent network, a place where people share information that is useful, often educational or news related. It also requires that you create a tweet in 140 characters or less, which has been said to actually be a skill now, to be able to say what you want to say in 140 characters and less. The other thing that really makes Twitter different is that you don't friend or network with people the same way you do on other networks. Instead, you gain what's called followers. In education, Twitter runs wild with information that is virtually like a free professional development all the time. There are literally just thousands and thousands of educators out there sharing information, helping each other, sharing resources. So being in education now and having the ability to use Twitter to connect with others is a really, really powerful option that we have nowadays. The other thing that really makes Twitter different is that people who share articles, people who share blogs, a lot of people blog information or opinions on information, they tend to keep them short on Twitter. People on Twitter know that there is sort of an unwritten rule that there's probably going to be, a maximum of a couple pages to read on a Twitter article, or most people will pass it by. People on Twitter are looking for a news feed that keeps them active in what they're looking to see, and they don't really want extra external information besides what they really need to get. So what you're looking at is Twitter. After you've created a Twitter account, you're going to be here. Of course, you probably will not have any tweets or followers or anything yet, unless you're not new to Twitter, which is awesome. Up here in the upper right corner is the ability to actually compose a new tweet. This is where you would actually write a tweet if it's your first one. We'll talk about that in a minute. These are your settings in case you want to change your profile. For example, if you don't have a picture or information about yourself, which we did talk about already in this class, you're going to want to update that information so that you're not just unknown out in the Twitter world. This is for direct messages, which would be similar sort of to emails, but also are limited in characters. So are used when you want to communicate with an individual on Twitter, but you don't actually want to tweet something. Home is your feed. This is all the information that you follow that will be listed in your feed. Now, the wonderful thing about Twitter is, as I said before, if somebody is filling up your feed with information you don't care to read or look at, that's when you stop following them, because you really personalize and individualize what comes through your feed. In the beginning, you probably will read most everything that fills up your feed in Twitter, but as you go, you'll learn that there are ways that you can actually filter out the really good information from Twitter without reading everything in your feed. When you follow a lot of people, it's going to be nearly impossible to always follow your feed because it updates so quickly. It would be all you would be doing. So this is your feed. As you look through tweets, you can probably see right away that there are links that are written in different colors. When you first start Twitter, it looks almost like it's a foreign language because there are Twitter handles in tweets. There are hashtags in tweets, and quite often there's an article linked to whatever the tweet is discussing. Articles are shortened automatically by Twitter, which is why the URL, the web address to bring you to the article, often looks kind of strange on Twitter. They get shortened automatically, or you can use a web shortening tool like tinyurl is a site you can go to actually make your web links shorter, since you're limited to 140 characters. But Twitter does do that automatically as well. Anything right here with a number sign in front of it is called a hashtag. A hashtag is basically a subject, usually a subject that you want to find more information about. For example, ed tech is a very popular subject in education technology, is what it represents. If you want to go out and see what people are saying about educational technology, you can do a search for ed tech, and then you would want to include hashtags in your tweets whenever you're talking about ed tech so that other people can see what you have to say about educational technology. If you see the @ symbol, that's somebody's handle. That means they're mentioning somebody else on Twitter. In this case, Ed Week, Ed Tech looks like it's probably an affiliation of Education Week, and they're mentioning them here, probably because they either wrote this article or they brought it up first. There's a lot of different reasons to mention somebody in a tweet. So all of these are links because if we click the article, of course we will go to the article. That's sort of the point of them sharing the article, is that then you can go there. And as I said earlier, a lot of people are blogging on Twitter, as you can see here. This is a blog, and as is a lot of information on Twitter. People do blog their thoughts, their opinions, their information. A lot of times studies are put out there on Twitter. And then back on Twitter here, if we click one of our hashtags like EdTech, that brings us to a new feed of all the tweets about EdTech. Now by default, you're first going to go to the ones that are the most popular. These are the ones that either have gotten the most retweets or the most activity, or sometimes they pay to get to the top. And then all would be all the tweets anybody is saying about EdTech right now. Now these are even people you don't necessarily follow. So this is how you actually find more people to follow. You can do a search for a hashtag, something that interests you, and you'll be looking at people that are not necessarily normally in your feed. So when you include a hashtag in something that you say on Twitter, when people look for that hashtag, they will see you in this feed, even if they don't follow you. So using hashtags is a good idea. It gets you more followers. It gets you connected with more people that have to do with what you're talking about. And I'm going to share a link with you that shows you all of the hashtags out there, because you don't really know where to start usually when you're on Twitter, so that you know exactly which hashtags you should be looking for. As we said earlier, the handles, the ats, represent people that are being mentioned. So, for example, in this right here, they're mentioning this Peter DeWitt. If you click that handle, you can see exactly who Peter DeWitt is. You can see that his picture is here. His description of what he is here, which is why it's really important you write a description yourself and put a picture up, because people are going to be looking at you and for you. And then if I decided to follow him, he looks like he does a lot of good things in education, and it seems like someone I'd be interested in following. Then you just click the follow button. Notifications are any time that you've been mentioned or retweeted, it gets put in your notifications, and this tells you that people are communicating with you and connecting with you. Discover is where you would just type in the different types of hashtags you want to look up, and over here on the left it tells you what's currently trending. You've probably heard people say this is trending, or a certain TV show will say our hashtag was trending within 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. That's what this means. These are the biggest trending topics right now that people are talking about, and of course it changes all the time. So back to you again. If you go back to me, one of the things that you're going to want to do is to start following people. An easy way to find people to follow is either by using hashtags that you're interested in, and like I said, I'll share that list with you, or going to someone who you know does something in the specific subject that you want to follow more about, and then you look at who they're following. So for example, I do a lot of education technology. I do a lot of social media in education. So you could search for me up here and find me, and you would find me right there, and you could follow me if you like, and you can unfollow me if I bore you or take up too much information on your feed. But as you can see here, if you click on me, then you'll be able to see who I'm following. And you can look down my list and just start following anybody that you think you would like to follow. If you follow someone and you change your mind, you can just go right back to that button and unfollow them, and they will no longer be in your feed. So you're definitely going to want to start following some people. You're also going to want to start playing around with looking at some hashtags. No need to start tweeting right away, But when you're ready to tweet, you go ahead and up here, and you can see here, for example, I could do a tweet that says EdTech is awesome with our new class at Louisiana Tech, and I'm mentioning them so that they would see that I'm mentioning them in a tweet. If I wanted to include an article somewhere, an article perhaps that we read in class, I could copy and paste the article into my tweet. And notice that even though that looks very long, Twitter's telling me I still have 69 characters left because it's going to reduce that article when I actually do the tweet itself. That's about all really there is to get started in Twitter. As we move along in this class, I'm going to ask you to actually compose a tweet which has a hashtag in it for our class so that we can kind of get the conversation started and start building your PLN. Good luck on Twitter.